Hi, it's Pete Cohen here, and welcome to episode 150 of the My 365 podcast series. And today's podcast is called Why Self-Help Doesn't Work. Excuse me? Why self-help doesn't work? You've made 150 podcasts on self-help, and now you're telling me it doesn't work. You need to watch the podcast to find out. What I'm going to be sharing with you is why self-help is often like dieting. It's an industry which is kind of, I suppose, founded on failure. It kind of depends or it relies on people to try things and fail and then try again, buy another book, go on another course. And we're going to fundamentally pull that apart and show you really how to make self-help work for you. This is a monumentous episode, 150. It seems like quite a big number. But we're really going to turn things on its head and show you how to take you and your life to a whole new level. We believe your future is unwritten and you have the power to change. So get ready for another game-changing podcast. Hi, it's Pete Cohen and welcome to episode 150 of the My 365 podcast series. It's been a massive ride. I must first off just give a massive shout out to my partner, I was going to say in crime, my partner in inspiring people all over the world, Mr. Casey, who has worked with me for the 150 podcasts that we've done. He's produced them, he's edited them. Let's give him a massive round of applause. He's an absolute legend, and I'm so thankful to him for helping me get this content out into the world, because my goal is quite simple. It's to inspire you to be the very best that you can be. But Pete, you've called this podcast Why Self-Help Doesn't Work. Well, look, of course it can help. In a previous podcast we did recently about how to be like Bruce Lee, he believed there was only one type of help, and that's self-help, going to work on yourself. But the reality is, for most people who buy a book or go on a course or do something to develop themselves, they never get to where they want to go. And let's liken that to the industry of dieting. Have you ever been on a diet? Do you know anyone that's ever been on a diet? Probably. Did they get the results they wanted? There was a major study that was done, and I'm not going to reveal the name of the weight management program that was studied, but basically they were asked that did they have any case studies of people that had lost weight and kept it off for 5 years? And they didn't. Not one person. And this is a company that is worth millions and millions. What does that tell you? Well, you can look at it from a number of different perspectives, because we know that people change when their perspective changes. So maybe they don't have any case studies because those people didn't step forwards. Maybe because everyone is just doomed who wants to lose weight, and it's just not possible. It doesn't really matter what the approach is. It's just people are just broken, and there's nothing they can really do about it unless you're really lucky, you've got great genes, or I don't know. That's how maybe you look at it, or maybe it's because it's an industry that's just founded on failure. No one wants you to succeed, because if you succeed, you won't need to invest your time, your effort, and your money into another diet. In fact, there's a clue why we shouldn't diet, and that's the word. It's just take the T off the end and you're left with 3 letters. In fact, the first book I ever wrote was called A Diet to Die For, but actually it never got published, and it ended up being a book called Slimming with Pete. A lot of people actually thought it was called Swimming with Pete, but it wasn't swimming, it was slimming. And it was a book based on the experience I'd had of working with so many people and realizing the patterns that they had. And this is what I want to explain to you. I do think that self-help for a lot of people is like dieting. They just see the book as the answer. They see me as the answer, but I am not the answer. I'm not. I can be a solution, but you are the answer. You could actually say, if you like, you are the problem and you are the solution. So when it comes to self-help, how many of you have ever read a self-help book? or listen to a tape or something, or tape, that's a bit old, isn't it? Or a CD or something, or a record, and you've listened to it, you've gone on a course, and you felt fired up, but then you just went back to where you were before. You see, fundamentally, there is this idea that exists that we are all broken. We've all been broken, and there's something not quite right about you. And self-help can kind of prey on that. I don't mean pray as in praying. I mean prey on your vulnerability of this idea that you're not quite right the way that you are. But it's not just self-help. It's the whole world. It's how the world works. Capitalism works on, or commercialism, however you want to look at it. Commercialism is based on making you buy and do things you really do not need to do. Whether it's wearing makeup, you don't need to wear makeup, but you probably think you do. You need to wear designer clothes and drive fast cars, and you have to buy that book on self-esteem because you don't have any. There's this whole concept, if you're not quite right the way that you are, and this is where I want the alarm bells to really go off for you, is to really wake up and realize there's nothing wrong with you. You're just a human being. Are you perfect? Of course not. No human being is perfect. We don't live forever. We are imperfect beings, but we are whole. And this is part of what I really want you to understand. Look, you're whole, you're great just the way you are. Could you be better? Absolutely, which comes down to this whole thing of growth, wanting to grow and wanting to evolve and wanting to be more than what you are today. Now, I mentioned this in the previous podcast, I'm going to mention it again. The film, The Greatest Showman, with Hugh Jackman. I mean, I don't particularly like musicals, but what a beautiful film. And I love that line in the film where he says he wanted to be more than what he was. And that is what a lot of people, they want to be more than what they are, which means in many cases they're running away from where they are. And him, in the character in the film, where he was somebody who was scarred, if you like, from his upbringing, thinking he wasn't good enough, his father having to do work that was kind of, just work that poor people did. His father died when he was quite young. He was scarred. He believed he wasn't quite good enough. He couldn't have the lady the girl that he wanted because she came from aristocracy, and he felt like, so his whole life he was driven to be more than what he was, rather than, you don't need to be more than who you are. You just need to be yourself and allow yourself to grow and evolve. Because if you don't do that, this is what happens. Let me explain it to you like this. A number between 0 and 10. 10 is it's your default setting. It's your default feeling. What is that? How would you describe that on a scale of, I don't know, let's say 10 is you feel really good about yourself, and 0 is, I don't know, you're dead. You're not here. 1 is you don't feel good about yourself, you're low, you're stressed, you're worried, you're anxious, whatever it is. What is your default setting? What number would you give that? It's a slightly strange way of looking at it, but my point is, let's say on a confidence scale, let's look at it like this, 0 to 10. Then you have absolutely no confidence whatsoever. 10, you're supremely confident, you're just happy, it's not arrogant, you love who you are. I've only ever met a few people like that in my entire life. Well, actually millions. They're called babies. And I've met a few people. My coach was like that. He was just totally comfortable in his own skin. He wasn't fazed by pretty much nothing. But for you, maybe you're a 3 or a 4, your default, sometimes more, sometimes less, but your default. So let's say on the confidence scale, you see yourself as a 3. So you think, I need to get more confident. So you read a book. But every time you're reading about becoming more confident, you're reinforcing the fact that you're not. You're reinforcing the fact that you are not confident. Isn't that interesting? Listen, I might be wrong here, but of all the work I've done over the years, it just seems to be more and more apparent. And you think, well, how do you change that? You have to drop it. Drop it. Let go. To really let go. This is what a lot of people do with grudges. They have grudges against people, and all that grudge is really doing to them is they're holding on to something that they don't need. Think about it. Look around your house today. Go around your house and look at all the things in your house that you don't need, that you're just holding on to. Things that you're hoarding away. Many of you know that there's a huge interest around this around the world of people who just live in houses where they've just hoarded things and there's no room. It's very hard if I was looking at the back here, those of you that are watching this on YouTube, because that says I'm showing up, whereas the poster there before says winning at willpower, and I thought the willpower was still there. But whether you can see it or you can hear it, the poster on the wall says I'm showing up. And this is what I'm asking all of you to start really thinking about in your life, is about showing up. Because if you go to work on yourself and you think that you are broken and you need fixing, often you will look for someone else to fix you. That's what I did for so many years. And what tends to happen is you reinforce the fact that you're broken. And this is where people often feel they doubt themselves. They don't think, well, I can't do this. I've tried so many times. They feel depleted of energy to start again. That's where depression can often sit in. It's like just rather than let go of this idea. It's just an idea that once upon a time didn't exist. The idea that you're not good enough. The idea that you won't be loved. That there's something wrong with you. It's like, no, look, there's something wrong with all of us. It's just called being a human being. But to let go. To let go. Do this for me today. Find something heavy if you're fairly physically well and hold on to it. And take it for a walk and hold on to it for as long as you can. And then just see how you feel when you let go. That relief of letting go. Is it as easy as that? Yes and no. The yes part of it is just recognizing that ultimately it is a decision that you will make. The difficult part of it is that we just tend to go back. We think we are the person that we were. But I ask you today, make today, whenever you're listening to this, make today a day where you decide to grow, and get better. Grow and get better. Make the decision to grow. We are here to grow. We are here to contribute. We are here to be the best that we can be. So it's not about becoming someone, it's about being who you are and allowing yourself to grow. I really hope that makes sense to everyone. And as we wrap this up, there was a children's film that I saw many years ago. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee here, cold coffee. It's a children's film and it's called Spirit. It's a cartoon and it's about this horse. And I remember watching this film and I don't know why I was watching it, but I loved it. Cried my eyes out. I've actually watched it a few times, actually bought the film, gave it to people. It's about a horse that is a stallion and it's captured by cowboys and they literally try to break the horse. And there's an Indian who's watching this horse who is fascinated by it, absolutely fascinated by this horse. And the cowboys try to break it and try and beat it and it just doesn't work. It doesn't. Everything they try, it doesn't work. This horse, it just cannot be broken. So it escapes actually with the Indian because the Indian is captured as well. And the horse and the Indian formulate this relationship between the two of them. And the Indian tries to ride the horse, but the horse ain't having none of it. It's having absolutely none of it. And there's this beautiful line in the film where the Indian says to the horse, "You are the spirit that cannot be broken." And I just love that. Doesn't matter what has happened to this horse, his spirit cannot be broken. And I believe that exists within all of you. Many of the stories of people who were persecuted, many of the stories of people who were in concentration camps, many of those people, their spirit could not be broken. Nelson Mandela, his spirit, maybe it felt broken at times, but it really couldn't be broken. We allow ourselves to be broken. Your spirit is as strong as you choose it to be because no one can touch your spirit. The essence of who you are. God, this sounds a little bit deep, doesn't it? But it's up to you what you take away from this podcast. Your spirit can never truly be broken, but when you think you are broken, you feel broken. When you're not, you're not. You're anything that you choose to be. I appreciate all of you listening to this. This is our 150th episode. I want to give a thanks not only to Casey, but to Ben Davis, to Kate Caruth, to my wife Hannah, to Nicola, to Andrea, who works with us. Who else works with Mary? Who else? Joe, Toby, who's filmed many of these podcasts, because I can't do this without them, and I can't do this without, well, I could do this without you, but that would be fun, wouldn't it? The fact that we have thousands of people listening to our podcasts all over the world, we really appreciate it. What's your biggest takeaway from what I've shared with you today? If you're watching this if you're listening to this on iTunes, leave us a comment. We love our comments. If you're watching this on Spotify, feel free to share it with people. Say, hey, share this with someone. Say, hey, what do you think of this bald-headed life coach? This is interesting what he has to say. I appreciate every single one of you showing up. What is your biggest takeaway? Go and do something right now. Go and look around your house and look at all the things. I don't need that. I don't need this. Go and carry something heavy. Go for a walk and see what happens when you let go of it. You can let go. There is nothing wrong with you. You are just someone who is evolving. Could you be better? Absolutely. We believe that your future is unwritten and you have the power to change. It's time for you to show up and realize you're fantastic. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Much love. Goodbye.